Good afternoon, all. Thanks for joining. I think we're waiting for at least one more person before we can officially start, so maybe we should allow a few more minutes and start at around maybe 10 minutes to 2. In the meantime, in case there are any generic questions as to how the session will go, or if anything that you would like me to discuss while we're in the session, please do let me know. And when we get to that point, I will cover that. Good afternoon, Melanie. Hi again, everyone. While we wait, okay, it appears we have more people joining in. Great. So while we wait, can you all take the opportunity to complete the poll that's currently active in the session?
Hi, it's Julia here. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. You said there was a poll?
Yes. Can you see it? It should be active on the bottom option, just at the buttons. There should be something there.
Oh, yes. I like your icebreaker poll.
Exactly, just to get an idea of how everyone is doing, and hopefully this should help.
Always happy.
Excellent. All right, so just one of you is yet to respond, but that's okay. I will close the poll for now. Or to show responses, by the way, just to see what everyone is looking at. It appears we have 3 who are happy and, one just trying to get through the day. All right. Okay, so since everyone is here, I'll first go through and mute everyone's microphones, and we'll begin the session. There we go. I'm now going to share my screen. Yep, we get the usual vortex. That should go away soon. All right. So the session will begin in a minute, and in this session we'll be discussing Blackboard Collaborate. Within this time, in case there are any generic questions that you would like to ask as to what we'll be discussing in this session, or if there's anything you want to be clarified, in case I've not added that to my slides or within this practical, please do let me know now, and I'll go over it when the time comes. And if there's anything specific that you would like to, to learn within this session, do let me know. So in case I've not incorporated it, then I will discuss it while we start the session. Okay, just a few more seconds. Great. So this session is the first of the 3 available discussing Blackboard Collaborate. We'll be looking at what Blackboard Collaborate is. Like I said, I've muted everyone's microphones just to allow for less interference in regards to, just in case you have any background noises. I'll leave at 3 p.m. That's absolutely fine. Questions, in case there are any questions, please do raise your hands and or use the chat feature, which some of you are already doing that. That's great. The session is currently being recorded and the recording will be shared, so you can have this for your reference. Slides are available for those of you who may need these. The slides are annotated screenshots, just to provide you something they can skim through if you don't want to look at the entire recording later. There will be a practical element at the end, and that's of course following the feedback we received from the first session we had last week, which is one of our other CPD sessions looking at an introduction to UWL learning technologies. And the feedback was that most of you required or requested to have an opportunity for practice sometime during the session, and if possible, at least a 5 or 10 minutes break. So I'll try to incorporate that within this. All right. There is one thing, perfect. All right, so like I said, in the session we'll be discussing Blackboard Collaborate, we'll be going over the features, and of course we'll be looking at the practical at the end. So what is Blackboard Collaborate? So I currently have this activity set up. Let me just try and get it active. It's on poll everywhere, by the way. It should be one of these. Is it this one? Okay, maybe not that one. Let me try the other one. There are several of these, and unfortunately I forgot to delete the incorrect one. All right, let me just test it. Give me 1 second. Those of you who may have attended the previous session we had last week, this is just one of those activities to check your engagement and also to see what it is you understand about Blackboard Collaborate. I'm just going through it now to see if it is currently active, and then I will share that with you. All right, it appears to be. So the way to access this is via a link. Let me just put that now in the chat. paulev.com/technologist. If you visit that link, you should be able to find a poll active that would allow you to provide your response as to what you know about Blackboard Collaborate. So if you please do that, that'll be very helpful. And while that is happening, let me just go into the activity itself, just to see that the responses are indeed coming through. Is everyone having access to the activity? There we go. I wonder why most of these activities don't show up within Poll Everywhere, just like they did last week. I will have to contact them about that. But the way the feature is developed is if you have Poll included or installed on your device, they have an application available for Windows and Mac. You log into your account on that, and if you have the activities created, you can load them within the slides as I've done in this example. And it should actually work that when you have the slide in full screen like this, you'd be able to show the responses. It looks something similar to this, but within the PowerPoint slides themselves. Right, perfect. So we see the responses here that there is something to do with the chat. It's something to be used. There are breakout rooms, can be used for academic purposes. There are some limited features, yes. It's within the module. It does allow for team collaboration. It's an interactive feature. It's accessible within Moodle. All right, perfect. So I will lock this for now, and we'll proceed with the activity. So Blackboard Collaborate, in just a holistic view, is just an online conferencing tool. But the way we use it at UWL is that it's automatically embedded within Blackboard itself to ensure that you have access to it immediately. And the biggest, most important reason why we use Collaborate is to aid remote learning and teaching, just like what we're doing at the moment. So features within Blackboard. So let me just go back and activate the second poll. This second activity is just to check your understanding of the features that Blackboard has. So what I've done is I've made the second activity active. So what I would like you to do is just click on any one of these images to show the features that you think Blackboard has. If it has one or two of these, or if it has all of them, if it has none of them, like that. Let's go back here to see the activity, because again, for some reason, it's not coming through within PowerPoint. All right, several of you so far. Let me block that. Has everyone responded? Just so I can turn on the responses to see what everyone has said. Okay, I assume at the silence, most of you have. All right. All right, so it appears the majority of you is saying that it has all of these features.
It's 14 hours.
And that is correct. It does have all of these features. So I'm going to lock this for now, and we'll continue back within the slides. So like I said earlier, it has all of these features, starting with the session recording, which, like I said, we are recording this at the moment. It has the chat functionality that allows you to post any questions and or discussions that you may have. It allows you to be able to moderate the session itself and the attendees within the session. You can share files and your screen. In my case, I did share a file before you started, and I also shared my screen, which is what I'm doing at the moment. It has breakout groups. We will see those in a moment. It's just like a virtual way of having group discussions, similar to how you have group discussions within a classroom, within a physical space. The breakout groups allows you to do that online. And then, of course, it has the ability to share your camera and video. In this case, and it also has the ability for you to allow to share, like to raise your hand in case you want to grab the attention of the presenter. And you're also able to share your microphone, like I'm doing in my case, so you're able to hear me as I speak. And of course, there's the whiteboard, so you can share that and have people collaborate and just add information on that when they're having general discussions. So Blackboard Collaborate is a conferencing tool used for discussions and collaborations online. In our case, we use it mainly for online session delivery for when we're teaching. We can use it to record sessions, as what we're doing at the moment. You can allow content sharing, which again, I'm sharing my screen. And again, as I said before, I shared the image. It enables group collaboration, like I just discussed, using the breakout groups. Allows sharing of camera and microphone. I'm currently sharing my microphone, but I think I've not shared my camera, so let me turn that on. There we go. So you should be able to see me now. And then of course you're able to share your microphone, which is what I'm doing, and it has the integrated polling option, which we already did that when we started. I created the poll, I made it active, and you're able to give me your responses. So how do we use Collaborate? So within Blackboard, all the modules are created to have the webinars Collaborate link just above the UW replay one. And on here, when you open it, the first time, you will see the two buttons to allow you to create a session. And this is because the first time the module is active, there are no sessions created, so you'll have to create the first one to be able to engage with the students. So this is just showing, like, again, a holistic view of what you would normally see within the setting options. So starting on the left image here, the first at the top, when you're creating the session, is you have to give it a name. Then within the event details, you'd specify if you want this to have guest access. So in my case, we did allow guest access for this particular session and all future coming CPD sessions. This is to allow for myself to be able to invite you guys using a link, so you're able to join in and we can discuss it. Then you are able to set dates and times, and this will obviously specify when the session is available. There are 3 types of sessions within Collaborate, which we'll look at a bit later. The first one, like the one we're having now, is called a close-ended session. It's basically one that has a defined start date and time, as well as an end date and time. In this particular situation, this session started at around 1:45 and it would end at 3:45. So that's a close-ended session. Then you have the second, which is an open-ended one. You would have the session available, and the moment you have created it, it will always remain open for anyone to access. And it will only close when you close it or when you delete the session. And then there's a repeat type, which is the session that creates multiple copies of itself across different times for however well you have specified it. And this ensures, and it also allows that flexibility for you not to have to create individual links, especially if you're going to teach across the semester. So assuming you have about 12 weeks of teaching within a 14-week semester, you can create a repeat session, and it will make sure that all available links for that particular module are automatically available for you the moment they're needed. We'll look at them later. And then, of course, there's the option to allow early entry. This is one of the recommendations we give, to allow early entry at least a minimum of 15 minutes. In this session and the previous ones we had, I allowed 30 minutes. The reason why we recommend this is because it allows you as an instructor to be able to play around and see that your microphone is working, your video is working, your internet is great. And it also allows you the ability and the time to upload your slides and make sure that everything is available and accessible, ready for your delivery. And the same applies for students, in that they're able to go in and just check their microphones and chat messages and internet connections and things like that, just ready for the session itself. At the bottom here, you have the option to provide a description. We do recommend that you do this. The description is just there to basically explain to whoever is going to attend the session about what it is that they'll be discussing, or that they can expect to be discussed within the session itself. Now, the description is not available, at least, if I'm not mistaken, for those who are joining in using a guest link. They're only able to view that while they're joining within the Blackboard integration itself, which we'll look at that. So once you've set up the first options, you will select this gear icon here to open the second options, and those are the session settings. So the first is the default role, which is set to participant. Now, we recommend that you leave this because it's the role that a student will be awarded or assigned to when they join the session from within the module. The reason you give them participant access is because it's the lowest level access, and you're able to manage them while you're in the session. If you were to allow something like presenter access or moderator access, these are other levels available, it provides them higher level access than they need, and they may create some confusion while the session is being delivered. The second option here is the recording. Setting it to allow recording downloads ensures that you are able to record the session during delivery, as we're doing at the moment. And that also ensures that the recording is available for members within the course to view, or once it's available, you can make it public so other people can view it as well when you share with them the link to that particular recording. We will see that soon. And of course, you have the participant permissions. The default is that all those permissions are set so that a participant is able to use their microphone, their video, post chat messages, and so on and so forth. There is a caveat, however. The last option down here, it shows for larger sessions. If you have any attendees more than 250 who will be joining the session, I believe the current maximum is 500. So anything from 250 to 500, when this option is selected, it will allow that many people to join. However, when this is selected, the participant permissions will all automatically be disabled. You will not be able to enable them, and the participant will not be able to use them. It's only after, while you're in the session, you are able to change their access and allow them presenter, so maybe they could speak, share their camera, and things like that. We'll see this in a moment. So once all of those options are set, you would then proceed to create. Once the session is created, it will be available just like that. Now here, I've put two examples, the first of which shows a session that is currently available to join in, and the second is a session that's due to take place at a later time. Any of the session that's black like this and shows either in progress or available is a session that people could join into. Any of those that are marked as not yet started or unavailable means you won't be able to open them, and if you can, then you won't be able to join the session because there won't be that option. All right, so when someone joins the session, we do recommend that they do so directly from within the module. The reason is because if they are a student, joining directly within the module ensures that their information is automatically recorded, which means you don't have to send them a guest link. Because when you send them a guest link, they would have to specify a name. And it's not always the case that, sorry, it's not always the case that the student would give their actual name or a student ID, so you know who it is you're speaking to. So in some cases, unless it's absolutely necessary, there's no point of creating a guest link for when you're delivering the sessions to your students while you're teaching them during the semester. Once you join the session, this is where you would land to. This bar you see on the left is one that's called the session menu. On here, as a moderator, you would see the option to allow to start the recording. So that's what I saw, and I started the recording, which is currently doing so. And for when you've already completed the session and you're ready to leave, then the option at the bottom allows you to do that. The right side, when you open that by default, it opens within the chat option where you're able to send messages and talk to everyone. And that's why at the top here is marked as everyone, which means any messages posted within that section, everyone within that particular session will be able to see that. Down here, these are the collaborative features, which we'll be discussing in a moment. So the first is the chat option. Now within the chat, when a message is posted, you will see a notification of that unless you choose to disable it. We will see that option soon. When someone is typing, it should show you that either one person is typing or several people are typing at the same time. You have options for different types of chats, and you are able to see unread messages by this red indicator. The first option is for everyone, and then the second is for moderators, which is available to moderators of the session, which yourselves being lecturers, when you join as a lecturer from directly within the module, it automatically adds you as a moderator within the session. So like I said, this chat option here is only available to moderators and only accessible by them. The one at the bottom is when you want to send an individual message to one of the members within the chat or within the actual session, and we'll see an example of that in a moment. While sending messages, you have the options to provide and or use chat emojis. So an example of that while you're here is you would use this little icon, and you can give an emoji and send that, and everyone within the chat will be able to use it. Then you have the styling options to whether you want to style it as bold, italicized, or underline. And as you can see, this example, I've bolded some text, I've italicized some, and the rest is also underlined. You are also able to mention someone within the chat by starting with @ and then specifying their name. So in this example, if I say @, it should show me everyone who's currently joined in the session, and I'm able to select someone and then mention them within this message, just like that. Anyone who's tagged as mod is the moderator of the session. Everyone else will be left as either participant or presenter. During the session settings that we discussed at the beginning, there's this one option that I didn't discuss until now, and that's the profanity filter. If you select this option and allow it to be active before joining the session, it ensures that if someone types any profanity while in the session, any words that have been deemed as profanity will be hidden with all these options for asterisks. If I'm not mistaken, I do remember that I have set that option for this session. So if any of you may want to try, you could. The word will only be seen to yourself, but when it comes through the chat messages, we will only see asterisks. We will not be able to see the actual word, whatever it is that you typed. Well, that's an English version, so I don't think that would work. You would have to use the precise ones known internationally. Yes, no worries. Okay, so within the session, you also have the option to see the different attendees that are joined within the session itself, and it will group them by the type of level of access they have. So the one here on the right, this long image, the top will show you the total number. These will just be like interactions that everyone has shared, and those are accessible here under your profile. So if I open mine, I could say like, today I'm happy, and that will be available. And if I open the chat panel, it should be shown right at the top. And of course, that's available for everyone to access, whoever is joining into the session. You'd also be able to see the number of people who are currently joining, so you're able to know who's coming in. Any one of those who are joined in as moderators will be tagged as moderators. Then of course, you'll have the presenters and the participants. Like we said, participants have the lowest level of access. The moderators have somewhat medium level access. And of course, the moderators have the top level access. You are able to detach the chat panel. For example, if I want this to be available to me, so I'm able to see everyone, I will select this option and select detach panel. And this will always be available to the right here, to the left, sorry. So if I close that, I'm always able to see everyone within the session, and I'm able to communicate with them as needed. You are able to change options for any one of the individual attendees within the session. You can either mute them, send them a private message, change their role from whatever it is they currently have to something different, make them a captioner, which is basically allowing them to physically type in the captions as discussions are taking place. And of course, you can remove them from the session if they're causing trouble. All of those options are available for one of the attendees by selecting the attendee controls, and this is everything here. So I'll just retouch or merge my panel, and we'll see it from this view. All right. So this is the option for detaching, which we've just gone through just now. All right, so there are options for sharing content. This here is a recording that I created showing how you can share files within Blackboard Collaborate. And it's a link that when clicked, it would show you what it is that you would need to see about how you can share files. But of course, we'll go through it now. And for those of you who may require the slides, I will share this with you, and in future, you're able to view this recording for your reference if needed. There's a question that was raised regarding breakout groups. Again, we will cover that. This recording here is like a 58 seconds, maybe 1 minute recording available on YouTube. It's created by Blackboard themselves, where they're going over the features of Blackboard Collaborate, and you're able to see how that works. All right, so seeing that everything we've discussed, how it is in practice. I'll go to this version and I'll show it to you from here. I'll access a test module and I'll go into the Webinars Collaborate, where we said that's where you'll be able to create the sessions for your module. In this example, I have 3 available open-ended sessions. Like we said, open-ended sessions are those that will always remain open from when you created them, and they will never close. At any given moment, anyone can access them, whether it's directly within the module or via a guest link if available. The one here at the bottom is a recurring session, the one that I mentioned that has duplicate multiple copies of itself across multiple weeks or however other frequency you've specified. So how do we create these? Like we said, we start by creating a session here. So what I will do first is I will delete this one and this one, all of them actually. There we go. And now we start from it exactly how you would normally see when you view your modules. You'll start by creating the session. You'll provide it a name. In this case, I'll just specify the type of session it is, something like open-ended session, example 1. We said you're able to allow guest access, and so this is able to share the link between yourself and other participants. You can specify the dates and times for when this is due to take place. The default is the time for when you started creating it. So say I want this to be available after the next 2 minutes and available until the following 1 hour. Actually, no, because I want it to be open-ended, I don't need to specify the end time. I'll just select no end open session. By default, the end date will be automatically disabled. From here, I can specify the early entry. Minimum by default is 15 minutes. I'll select 30. We said you're able to provide a description. So explaining to the student what it is the session is about, of course, helps them so they know exactly what it is they'll be discussing. Then the second slide, the session settings. The first option we saw is that you're able to set a default attendee role. This is what the user will be assigned to, depending on the type of role they have. Often as a student, when they select join the session directly within the module, this is the default role they'll be assigned. So in this case, that's participant. We can allow the recording downloads. And these are the options that the participants are allowed to have. You could disable this now, for example, but you are also able to change them while you're in the session, and I'll show you that in a moment. Down here, you have the options to allow the access for large sessions of more than 250 participants. And of course, you have the option to allow the hiding of any profanity. The option for telephony is, we would say that we'll leave that as an option to the instructor to decide. In some cases, what was reported before is people, if and when people join the session using the telephony options, it would probably charge them extra. But from the tests that I've personally done, I've not seen that. So it may just continue using the usual internet connection. But if it does charge them extra, then it will inform them before they do so. So once you have all of the options set, you can then proceed to create. But I'm going to repeat this one again, the one for recording. Like I said, if you want the session to be able to be recorded, this must be selected before you join the session. If it's not selected, then the session cannot be recorded. Once you create, the session will be available here. So because this doesn't have an end date, it's just saying open or available, and anyone can access it at any time from today. To join in, simply open the session and you're able to join session from this option. So that's the first type. The second is the close-ended session. And that's example 2. Again, you can allow guest access. You can set the default role if you want. In this case, I will allow this to be available for only 1 hour today. I won't set the no open because it's not an open-ended. I will not set the repeat because it's not a repeat type. I'll set the minimum early entry. I'll set the description. Of course, under here, I'll leave the option for participants to be the default attendee role, allow recordings. In this case now, I want to disable these because I want this to be available for them by default. Maybe I don't want the attendee roles, but this time around, I want to have a session of 250 or more. So if I select that, it automatically disables this option. That's how it's designed by default. Because obviously, if you have 250 people or more be able to use their microphones and video, then it becomes such a nuisance. So you're only able to allow them while you're in the session by promoting them to different levels. Okay. If the student joining a breakout section from a mobile, telephony ticked, or is this a default setting? All right, so the breakout sessions are directly within the session. It shouldn't have any effect as to whether they're joining from their mobile phone or they're using the telephony option or they're using online. As long as they're already in the session, they're able to use the breakout groups, which we will see, which are available just over here. I'll come to those in just a moment. All right, so we've allowed this option, allowed the perfect. Allow the profanity to be hidden, and then we create. So this example here shows that the session is set to start at around 2:22, and it's currently in progress, and it should end within the hour. And of course, the way to join is the same. If you're joining from the module, or if you're sharing a link with guests, then it would be this option. Then the third is the recurring session. Example 3, allow guest access. In this case, you should actually set the start and end times. And in this case, I will allow them to start from tomorrow, but the same times from 2:23 to 3:23. I'll make this repeat. I will set the frequency of repeating. Assume that you're doing this for your students while you're teaching, then obviously it would often be weekly, so leave that as the default. Otherwise, if it's something else like monthly or daily, then select whichever frequency that's relevant for the session. You will set the dates or days for when the session should be repeated. Maybe mine should be repeated every Tuesday, or if you want every Tuesday and Friday, then you can select multiple dates as well. I'll just leave it Tuesday. You can set either a specific end date and specify when it should end, or because we know the occurrences, say you know you'll be teaching 12 weeks, so just make it 12 occurrences. After that, it will. The usual, allow the early entry. Give the description. Session settings, allow the recording downloads. You may choose to enable or disable these as you need to. Allow profanity to be hidden, create. Once that's created, then you will see this. Now it's a bit different because this one is currently not available to join. The reason why is because they haven't started yet, and the first one is starting by tomorrow, or maybe up to 31st of August, around 2:23. So it's only at that time will this link be available or in progress, just like the ones above. In this case, if someone wanted to try and join this, as you can see, they don't have that option because the session has not started yet. Okay, so once you've joined the session, this is where we're at. We already said that we have the option to the left, and as the session moderator, you will see the option to start and stop the recording. And of course, there's just other additional options provided within Blackboard for either you want to report issues, find out more information, and things like that. When you're ready to leave, you have the option to leave the session down here. The ones to the right The first is the chat messages. All moderators have this link. So if there was another moderator in here, they would be able to see this link as well. This is the everyone where we currently are, and any messages put in here, everyone would have access to. The chat messages, you are able to italicize text, make it bold, British version, and underline it. So you can style it in that way in case needed. Like we saw earlier, using the @ it would show you a moderator and all the participants, and of course you can attach someone and say your hellos. You can, as we said, be able to use the emojis and other emoticons available, and that's pretty much everything to do with the chat. The only other difference is that for any of the chats that are, for any of the times when you're recording the session, then the indicator at the top would show that the recording is taking place. This icon here as well shows the recording is in progress. And of course, when they come back to this section, they will see that icon as well. So this option here for the attendees, we already said that you are able to detach the panel, and you can see the panel available right over here. If you allow recording, does that mean participants can record for their own? No. So the recording is only available to you as a moderator. Once you've allowed the recording to be set or created when you're creating the session, the moment you join in as a moderator, that's when you will see the option to allow or stop a recording, which means any of the things that are currently taking place, like all of this, I'm sharing my entire screen so you can see everything that's recorded as part of it, and users are able to view that later. So it's not available for people or other attendees to record themselves, but it's rather for you to record the session when you're delivering it. Does that answer your question? Perfect. All right, so you are able to mute everyone's mics. So if I go to this option and go to the settings and open the session settings, down here, I blocked the mics. So like I said earlier, when you're creating the sessions, these don't really matter because you can actually change them while you're in the session. Now, for example, down here is where you can engage with your microphone, your video, and others. So if I enable this now you should all be able to see a microphone icon that you could use to turn on your mics. Anytime someone has turned on their microphone, within the attendee, you will see this icon here, and that white simply means that they're talking and there's sound coming through. If then you hear that many people are talking and it's becoming a nuisance, you are able to select this option and mute everyone. And of course, that will just leave yourself, but anyone else in the session will be muted. Then you are able to pin, if they've shared their video, you're able to pin that of that particular attendee. You're able to send them a private message, something like that. And this now, if I go back, I will now see that I have a private message from someone, the moderator channel, and of course the one for everyone. If you want to find a specific person by name, just simply type it there. It will show you whoever that letter comes from, and again, you are able to send them a message privately as well. Then you have the option to change their roles. So if I come back here, actually, nope, it's this same one here. Let's say I change her to be a moderator and maybe her to be a presenter. Then you would see that we have one presenter, two moderators, and one participant. You're also able to change them back to something else, so something like participant there, and again, participant there. So this is what you would normally need to do when you have set the session to have 250 plus participants, because like we said, the options to share the microphone, video, and such are all blocked. But when you change their roles to presenter or participant, then they will have that access, but everyone else won't. And like we said, if you find that someone is a nuisance, of course, you can remove them from the session. You don't have to wait for them to do it themselves. This option here changes them to a captioner, which allows them to type the physical captions as everyone speaks or interactions take place in the session. And those captions would then be available for someone who may be hard of hearing, and they can view that as part of the recording later. Unfortunately, this option is not automated, as in when the session is taking place, the captions are not automatically generated, unlike systems like Microsoft Teams. The person has to physically be made a captioner and they have to physically type it, which is obviously not a very useful thing because it becomes much harder than it should be. So I'll retouch or merge the panel. And that's pretty much everything to do with the attendees option. This option over here discusses the sharing of content. As a moderator, you have access to all of these. Now, for some of you who are, in a hurry and maybe required leaving late, so I'll discuss this option first, and then I'll come back to the first ones here later. So the breakout groups, when you open, this is what you will see. It would show you here however number of groups that you want to have. Currently, we have 5 attendees within this session. So if you create 2 groups, it will show that one would have 3, one would have 2. And of course, you can change this as you see fit. The type of assignments, if you select custom assign, this allows you to drag and drop users in each individual groups. So for example, I would show all. And let's say I select this one to go in that group, and in that group, that group, that group, and so on and so forth. But as you can see, this does become a bit hard and it does take time. So it's often just easier when you open that option, just set this to randomly assign, and it will automatically do it for you. You don't have to physically select each person going in whatever group. If you select these options, then each individual moderator will be assigned a specific group if I do that. Otherwise, if I remove that, then that option doesn't have to be. Allowing attendees to switch groups obviously means that if there are several groups, then each attendee would be able to move from one group to the other. But of course, that can become a nuisance if you have people who may use that not in a good way. So you may choose to allow that as you see fit, depending on how you know your students. If you prefer to have it, then of course it's available. Shuffling attendees would obviously just change which attendees go in what group. And of course, that just makes it easier to have the people completely randomized. In this example, by selecting the random assign, it would follow usually the list of attendees as they appear. So let's say the first group here would have 1, 2, 3, and the second group would have 1, 2, just like how they appear within the list. But if I select the option to shuffle attendees, then it won't follow that order. It will just select anything randomly. Within the main room, which is currently what we are in, can attendees choose their breakout group? Do they see a list? So this option here to allow attendees to switch groups, that will allow them to do that. So I'm going to select this now, and then we will see how that looks in a moment. So these are the assignments, because like we said, they appear as this appears here in the alphabetical order. But if I select the option to randomize, random there, 2 groups, allow to switch. So if I shuffle attendees, as you can see, the names are now mixed, and I can shuffle this until I'm happy. Say, that's why I'm happy, then I will leave it at that point. When I now proceed to start, it will break this particular session to 2 individual groups on the side, plus the main session we're currently on. But there is a caveat with that. If a recording is taking place and you create the breakout groups, the recording will not continue, it will stop. When you bring everyone back into the main room, the recording will not automatically start, because like we said, it has to physically be selected from that option. Now in the past, unfortunately, several staff had forgotten this option, and when they allowed the breakout groups to start, when they brought everyone back, they forgot to allow the recording again, which means the remainder of the session was not recorded. But if you remember to do that, then obviously that will be resolved. So hopefully that is clear. Now let's try this. I'll proceed to start. All right. So I hope you can all still hear me. And like you can see here, I'm seeing that this is the first group and this here is the second group, and someone is having, all right, it's internet issues. But yeah, so we have the two individual groups. Now, there should have been the option to allow you to change groups. Can either of you try to do that, like move from whatever group you're in into another one? Or otherwise, let me try to do that on my end using a different account, and we will see how that looks like. I'll go back here, I'll select this. And then I'm joining the session with a different account as an attendee. And what that will do is I will be able to test this session. I would be able to see. Okay. I will be able to see. I will be able to see. I will be able to see. My apologies. I forgot to disable the option for the microphone within this other. All right. So unfortunately, I cannot show that option. And as you can see, the test account has left. And the reason why I've done that is because, as you saw, whenever I join the session on the other part, what it does is it will have this interference because the microphones are from the same device. Or imagine if you had two devices next to each other, then what that will do is that the microphones will be used on either side. And eventually what this means is the sound will go in from one section to the other, and that will create that feedback loop, similar to what you're seeing of this video. But that was of the sound and was obviously very uncomfortable. But at least I can see here that all of you have tried to move from one group to another. That's perfect. So the option is available, and if you set it, it does allow everyone to be able to move between groups as needed. As myself, as an instructor, I have to restart this. Now it's recording technically as another part of the recording from what we discussed earlier. All right, so that's everything from the breakout groups. Now, when you started, I had the poll that I asked you about how you were feeling today. So that's this option. When you select it, there are currently two options available. You could select the yes or no. The first one I selected was the multiple choice. That simply provide a name and any multiple answers you have, and then make that available. But maybe this time let's try a yes or no. If I make that active, it should now be active, and you should all be able to engage with the poll. When you want to stop people from taking part in the poll, you would select this option. But because currently I've not selected that, then the poll should still be visible to you, and you are able to select this option and do your poll, or you should just see this pop up and you can select any one of these options. Once you're ready, once you've, of course, ended the poll after everyone has given their responses, then you've closed the poll, it goes away. But the responses are saved, and we will see later in a moment how you can access those options. So that's everything to do with polling. You can simply select either multiple choice and provide multiple answers, or yes or no, which I've already sent both just now. So now we have the option for the whiteboard. Now, the moment I make this available, the screen that I'm currently sharing, which is this option, will be disabled, but you will see a whiteboard from which you are able to write on. Once that happens, I will then bring this back and reshare my screen, and we can move on with these two other options left. Just a moment. All right, so now the whiteboard is open and it's active for you. At the top, you should see a few icons available. The ones on the right should be like a pen, and using that, you're able to write something. So you may want to try that to see how that works. You have the T in the boxes. You can click on that, and you're able to select and type just like you would normally type from a computer. And you should also be able to change like the color of your text. Like when you open anything, the first option to the right, whether you're typing with a pen or the type option, should be the thing to allow you to type or write in a different color. Right, I'm seeing majority of you are doing that. That's perfect. Then, of course, once you're done, if you're happy with everyone's collaboration and you're ready to bring everyone back, you have the little circle in the box. When you just a bunch of smiley faces, great. You just select that option to stop sharing and should bring everything back. And I will proceed to reshare my screen. And there we go. So this option here is just a camera. Now there are two types of sharing of a camera. There is this camera and there is this camera down here. This camera will select and or share this little icon of a camera, which in your case you may see on the right side if I'm not mistaken. So that will be me. If I use this option, then this entire window here will just be my face, something like that, which means anything else that I currently have will not be visible to anyone. It will just be me. So I will cancel that and go back to sharing my screen. And then we have this last option. That's where you upload any of your files and images and things like that, and you're able to share them. If I open, you will see that we had this image, the one that I had as a background from when you initially started. So if I do that and proceed to share now, it will make that available. And that's it. So there's nothing much going on here. However, it still has the options from the instructor's perspective or the presenter's perspective to use the options we saw earlier, like on the whiteboard, like the pens and stuff. So if I try on this one, I change this to red and just type like that or write. So it will do similar to what you see on a whiteboard. So you can consider the option of sharing a file like this technically similar to when you're sharing a whiteboard itself, because the features are the same. So I will close this and go back to sharing my screen. There is one caveat that we should definitely discuss. When you're sharing files, it clearly tells you here that you can either drop an image, like this example, a PowerPoint slide, or a PDF, or you can click on this to find whichever one of those that you'd like to upload. With the PowerPoint, however, there's a big caveat. Anything that has animations will not work. For example, if I go back to this slides and go all the way to the top, there is this one. Any of you may have noticed that this was a timer. If I open it like that, the timer counts down from 1 minute. Now let's say I copied this, just proceed to copy, and I opened a new file, paste it here, just change this to black so everything is nice and visible, delete that, save this, call this test animations, and make it available in the desktop and save. So now we have that file available. So if I come back here and I find that file to add, you will see what happens in a moment. So desktop, test animations, open. So the file is uploading just fine. It recognizes it as a PowerPoint slide, everything is okay. But the moment it's available and I try to open and use it within Collaborate, it will no longer be a PowerPoint slide. So if I do that now, you will notice that the numbers will not count down. It will just be a physical thing, just like that. So nothing is happening. The reason for this is because whenever you upload anything that's a PowerPoint, it technically changes it to either an image or a PDF. And those two files do not have similar interactions, which means if you want to share a PowerPoint slide that has such features to allow for participants to be able to see any of these animations, you have to use another option. And that's the reason why I was sharing my entire screen before and not put those PowerPoint slides within here. There are two options available, three technically, that would allow you to be able to share the PowerPoint slide with the student. So the first one, when you're sharing application or screen, I'm currently viewing this on Chrome. That's why you see Chrome tab. But if I view this from another browser, this option isn't available. The one I was using earlier was sharing my entire screen. So if I selected that and made this as available to share, what this will do is it will show everything. So as long as I have the slides open within my actual PowerPoint software, and I then make this available for presenting, then all the animations take place, because it's actually doing that within PowerPoint itself and not from Collaborate. The second option is when I'm sharing, there is the option that allows you to share a window. Now, in most cases, you may not see the window open, like in my case here, because I'm using a Mac, the window would not automatically be visible, but it also may depend on the type of window you're trying to share. The window, if I go to this other version and open a link that may be accessible here, I'm just going through another available Collaborate session so you can see something. It's adding me in, so just a second. There we go. All right. All right, so it appears some of you are about to leave. That's okay. There is a practice activity, slides for which are available. I will share those. And if for any of you who may have questions later, you're welcome to ask. Otherwise, I'll try my best to try and cover them right now. That was a question. So which browser do you use to share screens? We don't want to upload a PowerPoint slide to Collaborate. It should convert it to an image only. So the browser do we use to share screens? Any of them. So currently this is Chrome. This is also Chrome. This one here is Firefox. And I can do the same thing. If I go there, this option, I have the option to share the screen. If you're on, just a second, my laptop is about to die. There we go. So you have the option here to share the screen, or you can share just one individual page, but this is what you would normally see from within Firefox. Of course, you can allow to block this or something. Another question. Sorry, I thought you said Chrome was better for something. Chrome has the option to allow you to do this. It has the Chrome tab option when you're sharing something. So I'm here in another version of Chrome. I'm going into a session. Actually, no, this is a view as a student. It won't work. So let me go as a lecturer. Just 1 second. Not that one, should be this one. All right, so within Chrome, there's only one thing that's mainly different within the other browsers, is that it has the Chrome tab when you're sharing. But every other application has the option to share the entire screen. It currently shows that I'm already in the session because I'm in this session here. That's why. And I'm also in this session over there. So let me use this one instead. There we go. Perfect. So if we come back here and go to share, you see that it has sharing of an entire screen, sharing of a window, or a Chrome tab. And this will it will show you any of the tabs currently open that you may want to share with someone. And I'll show you that in a moment. But if I come here for the one for Firefox, I can only see two options. One, to share the entire screen, or to share this particular tab, the one where the session is currently taking place, the Blackboard Collaborate one, nothing else. So that's the only difference. And of course, if you try and do this from another browser as well, then it will be the same thing. I'm just logging out from this one so it doesn't confuse. So that's the only difference. Does that make sense? So is there any other question? I'll take that as responded, but in case you have any other questions, then please do let me know. Perfect. So that's the option for sharing the files. When you put PowerPoint slides that has animation, the animations will not be loaded. Now, like I said, there is an alternative for this, and that is if you want to share them, say, from a Chrome tab or from PowerPoint itself. We've seen on PowerPoint because I've shared my entire screen. Now, from a Chrome tab, I'll just go to my email quickly, and I will access Outlook somewhere here. If I can find it quickly, come on. There we go. OneDrive. Perfect. So within OneDrive, I've uploaded an example that has this one here. It has additional features that are only available within PowerPoint. Now I'm opening this PowerPoint slide online. So this PowerPoint you're seeing here is the PowerPoint Online version, which is the Office 365 version. It will load everything just like how we see it within PowerPoint itself. So if I make this presentation, you will see that any of the animations are loaded and everything works absolutely fine. Go to the next slide. There we go. So the animations are coming through. And this is to test sharing files of like video, audio. So let's see that. So animations are coming. And the next one will be a video. There we go. The video is playing, no problem. I'll go to the next one, which is an audio file. And that should play as well. Oops, sorry. There we go. So yeah, the sound is coming through on the video as well, just like that. So that is how you can share something that has animations within Collaborate. If I was to put that slide in here, and none of those recordings would play, they would just automatically blank out. In fact, I think I have the file downloaded here somewhere. We could possibly try that and see how it looks like. There we go. I'll open. So once this uploaded, it'll try and open. You'll see that anywhere where there's like a video or animation or something, it'll just put a bunch of big question marks or something like that. It will not load it as it should. So I'll come back to that in a moment while it uploads. So we've already looked at this. We've looked at that option, the camera, and all this. Now in the session settings, you have the first option to change your image if you want to. You could either remove it so you have none, or you can upload a new image and maybe take a picture of your camera and things like that. If you set this option, then every time you join your session, if you've not cleared your cookies within that same browser, whatever image you set will be visible. I'll cancel this. These options here are just your, to set things directly from within your own device, like how loud you want the speaker to be when things are being played from Collaborate. The video quality experience, this I think is mainly available for moderators. I've not checked for participants, but I will check that. But you could check on your ends as well because you're currently participants. If you select this option, check to see under audio and video settings if you have this option here. The notification settings, these are available to all of us. If you select all of these options, then every time a message is sent or someone joins or things happen, then a pop-up will show up like this, or an audio or something else. Yes, the recording I will send in a moment once it's available, and that should be in about maybe an hour or so. Depending on the length of the recording, the session itself, the recording may take a bit more time to process, but I will send them in a moment. There will also be a few links to give feedback, one of which is this one, specific for this session. Under this part, you would have to select Blackboard Collaborate training, and then give you information on that section and feedback down here as to my presentation or anything else. And please be as critical as possible because that would help me as well as help others. And it's anonymous, so I won't know who said what. And then there's this one for HR, which again I will also share at the end, and I will explain. It's 15 hours. All right, so Julia, if you're already left or if you're leaving, please do. I will share with them later, and I think she left. All right, perfect. So, like we said, you are also able to allow these options and get their notifications and the sounds as you see fit or as you need them. The session settings here, they're mainly available for the moderator. If I set this to only allow my profile picture or other moderators, then if yourself as a participant or presenter have set a profile picture for yourself, it won't load because I've only blocked this to allow just for moderators' images to be seen. The gallery view, this is when you have several people available. So if I stop sharing now, you will see like a bunch of icons showing the number of people who have joined in. So if you set it to everyone, then everyone will see that same view of the gallery. But you can also set this to either just moderators or just disable it altogether. It won't make much of a difference as far as the session is concerned. It's just a way to display the content available. Then, like we said, you do still have the option to set these as needed to allow either audio to be available to the participants within the session. So I've done that now, and I will leave this on. So from here on onwards, if anyone has a question, just raise your hand, then turn on your mic and ask it. Then down here, you have the option to chat support and, of course, report any issues if available. All right, so that was the majority of most of what was to be discussed within this particular session. Now, what we have is a following activity that is more of a practical. So currently there are 4 of us in here, so it should be fairly quick. What I will do is I will upload the slides that have the PowerPoint question active. And then what I would like you to do is, following what the slides are showing, create each individual thing as required, and you would put the guest links and such in this session, and I will join them from different browsers, and then we can move on from there. If you have any individual questions, you can ask me. So let me just do that. Should be this one. All right, so while that's uploading, we will check this option, because like we said, this is where the animations are. I will now proceed to share now. and I will select one of the slides, and you will automatically see that the animations are not taking place. So it's just like one individual image. If I go to the next slide, where the video was just a big question mark, it will not load. And of course, the audio will do the same thing. So for those to play like we saw earlier, play them within your PowerPoint and then share your entire screen to show the PowerPoint slide. Alternatively, if you're using Chrome like I'm doing at the moment, you can have them opened within PowerPoint online if you have the file in your SharePoint or another online storage platform, and then you can play it from there and just share the Chrome tab or share another form to show it, and that will allow for the animations to be visible. All right, so I'll go back and remove this one and put the other slide, and we'll talk about the activities that you would need to do. So this is the practice activity for the session that we've discussed today. These, goodness. All right, so it's kind of cut off because of the size. So let me just share it as the application screen. Makes it easier. It's just a few little activities that we'll need to go over through together just to provide you the practice needed. So this is the practice activity for the Blackboard Collaborate session. So the first thing that I'd like you to do is within any one of the modules you have access to, preferably something that has already passed so you don't confuse students. I would like you to create a new session, make this a single or a one-off session. The one, like we said, has a specific start time and an end time. Allow it to record, hide profanity, give it guest access, and then share the guest link with me. So copy the guest link and then put it within this current session we're on so I can join in. Then once I join in, you would start the recording. You would assign me to a breakout group. You would share a file within the session. You will create and share a poll like what I did before. You will share your application or screen to show anything. You will change my role to something different. So maybe set me as a participant, then grant me access like a presenter or a moderator. I will have my microphone on and I'll be talking, then you can mute me. And then after that's done, you will remove me from the session, assuming that I'm being a bit of a nuisance. So that's everything to start with. So I'll have this one open here. Then let's try and do that. Can we do this activity from mobile as my laptop isn't working? From your mobile, it should work. The only thing is that it will be a bit hard. So Joanne Booker, passed to modules, unfortunately. Do you have a test? Okay. Were you there in the first introduction to AWS technologies, Joanne? The session we had last week, Tuesday, I think it was the 17th. I'm assuming you weren't, that's fine. I remember Melanie was there, so you should have a test module. I'm not sure about Fawad. Abdul Hakim, you should have one. But Fawad and Joanne, do you guys have test modules available for you? You do. Abdul Hakim, I know you do because I created one for you. All right, so I'll create one for you now. Fawad, you do. Okay, so use those test modules. And while you do that, I will create the test module for Joanne just now. So I'll stop the recording and you're welcome. And then we can proceed from there. Perfect. Let me stop the recording. Wrong. My apologies. I should have simply stopped sharing my screen. Getting confused now. All right, so I'll go into Blackboard and create a new module for Joanne. Just realized I cut off the recording. I'll come back to that just now so the activities are visible. Just give me 1 second. All right, so Joanne, you should now be able to see a module with your name. It should be called Joanne's practice course. And this should be accessible within your modules area. So if you go there and just refresh and just type your name in the search bar, you will see that. So just log into that and you'll be able to use it to do this activity. All right, so I'll proceed to share my screen again. So we have the, that was perfect. All right, so let me just share the screen again. And then, so we said you create the one-off recording, set it to record, hide profanity, allow guest access, share the guest link with me. So far, Abdul Hakim has done that. So I'll join yours, Abdul Hakim, and then once everyone else has confirmed theirs, then we'll proceed with the next session, the next steps for the next activities. So just 1 moment. I will use this one. Oops, there we go. And then we'll join here. Has anyone else been successful to create theirs? In case there are any questions, please do ask me so we can discuss them. If there's anything I need to clarify, I'll do that now. All right. All right, since we're here, Abdul Hakim, then try and start to record the session on yours, the practice one that you created. I hope you can hear me, Abdul Hakim. In the guest link you sent me, join that session, preferably using a different browser so they don't interfere with this one. But I think you can also use with the same browser you have. And then within that guest session, start the recording so we can see that it's coming through. And the rest of you, please do send me your guest links following that activity, which is create the one-off recording within your test module, set it to record, set it to hide profanity, allow guest access, then share the guest link with me. Great, Melanie, thank you. So 2 more left. Fawad, in your guest module, in your guest activity, it's still not recording. Thanks, Joanne. All right, so I'm going to cancel this one. And then I will join yours just now, Melanie. There we go. And then Joanne. I still have one person, Fawad. I think you may be able to do it within your phone. It's just that it may be slightly trickier. So if you could use it from a larger device, something different that you may have access to, that would be great. Hi, Abdul Hakim. So you joined. So please share your microphone. You left again, unfortunately. Internet is a problem. So I'll just continue here, ratio, and say Blackboard Collaborate training. And then this one should be Joanne. So the moment I join in, Joanne and Melanie, please do start. Oh, Melanie, you've started your recording, perfect. And Joanne, please do start your recording in the test activity. I can see Fawad has joined in your activity. Great. This doesn't need to be there. All right, Abdul Hakim, you're okay. You've turned your microphone. Your microphone. Can you stop your? There you go. The reason it did that, just like we did before, is because you have your mic on both sides. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's okay. Thanks a lot. So I did switch on, and it's recording now. What else do you want me to do?
All right, just one moment. I'm trying to get this one here to Joanne's. Forward. Okay, so this one doesn't look complete forward. It should have numbers like these at the end. After the guest one, there should be some string of numbers and letters. Thank you. Seems I'm having trouble joining Joanne's session, but we'll look into that in a moment. So Abdul Hakim and Melanie, I'd like you to continue. We'll come back to Joanne and Fahad in a moment. So assign me to a breakout group. Abdul Hakim and Melanie, create a breakout group and put me in one of them. And then we'll see how that looks like in a moment. All right, put in a group. This is Melanie's, perfect. Abdul Hakim, yours. Just create the breakout group and then add me to it. I'm just going to mute your microphone for a moment. So within this practice session link you sent me, where you have the recording active, go to the share content and then select the breakout groups and then assign me to one of them. I can see Melanie has done it here and it's perfect, no problem at all. I'm having trouble still accessing Joanne's, but let me try again. There we go. All right, so Joanne, I can see your recording is there, perfect. So please go into your session content and then select the breakout groups and assign me to one of the groups within your test session. Fawad, if at the moment you are unable to take part because maybe using a mobile phone, it's a bit confusing, that's fine. I will share these slides for the practice later. You could try them aside, and of course, if you have any questions, you could just email Expert Academy, and either myself or any one of our colleagues will be able to assist you. So don't worry about it right now. If you're unable to take part, it's absolutely fine. Perfect. All right, so this first session here, Abdul Hakim, great, you've added me to a group, perfect. Melanie, perfect. You're in group 1, yes, perfect. All right. Can see a message. You're most welcome. All right, so everyone has added to the group. That's perfect. So the next bit is within the groups you've created, try and share a file and then create the poll later. So starting within the breakout groups you have me in, join the group I'm in, then share file and have it accessible, any file that you have access to. So the way you would do that, you would leave the main room and then join group 1, in this case Abdul Hakim, where you've added me to. Then once you've joined there, then you will be able to have the options to share the file and stuff. In Melanie's section, then you would put me in group 2, so we're in the same group. Then you would go to share content and share file in there. And in Joanne's, okay, you can see I'm in a group somewhere here. Yes. So is all right, joining. So Abdul Hakim, in your test session, join into group 1 where I'm in, and then you're able to share your file in there. So Melanie, you're in the same group, perfect. Just go to share files and put any file on there, like an image or a document, anything. Joanne, same thing. We are already in group 1, that's perfect, okay? You're sharing something, new books, great. It's coming through. Melanie, whenever you're ready, in your group. Perfect. I can see your file at the Hakim, the very vicious skeletons. All right. Did we lose someone? Yep, it appears so. That's okay. All right. So we already saw the file from Joanne, perfect. From Abdel Hakim, great. Melanie, in case you're having any issues, then please do let me know. We can look into that. In the meantime, the two of you, Abdel Hakim and Joanne, please proceed to creating a poll, make it a yes or no, and then you can proceed to sharing the entire screen or some application you have open, and then we can do the rest in a moment. In the same sections you went to share the file, you would have the option to share your a poll. Melanie, I think I still haven't seen the file shared on your end. In case you're having trouble, then please do let me know. Great. Are you enjoying the session? Yes, I am. So Joanne, that's done. Perfect. And now you can proceed to share your screen or maybe share an application you have open, like that. Are you happy? Perfect. Abdel Hakim, that's done. Now you can proceed to share your application or entire screen. Great. Perfect. Joanne, that's good. All right, so after that we have, all right, so now you can cancel sharing your file. All right, Melanie, I can see yours here. Do you like the shared file? Yes, I do. All right, so try and share, Melanie, try and share your screen. Abdel Hakim, try and do the same. Joanne, you've already done it, perfect. Now, Joanne, try and change my role from a participant to either a moderator or a presenter. Melanie, try and share your entire screen or an application you have open. Oops, big mistake. All right, Abdel Hakim, perfect. So you can stop sharing now, and then you can change my role from participant to something else. All right, Melanie, so you can cancel that now, and then you can change my role from participant to something else. All right, Joanne, you've done it. I'm a moderator in your group, perfect. And I'm a presenter in Abdel Hakim's group, and I'm a moderator with Melanie, great. All right, so it seems all of those activities have been passed well, perfect. Now you can mute this one. I will mute this one, then I will start opening them in your individual sessions, and I'll just talk, mute me, I'll move to the next, and once we're Oh, apologies. Actually, I just noticed I I had my microphone off, so I didn't know how to do that. Yes, so please do go back to the main session. I was actually talking to myself for a second. For all of you, go back to the main session, and once we're in the main session, then remove me from the session, because I'm creating a bunch of issues in your sessions. People are becoming a bit distraught. So select my option. Great, Abdul Hakim, that's perfect. Melanie and Joanne. Joanne, perfect. Melanie, while we're in the session, close the breakout group first, Melanie. Once we are back in the main room, then you can select this option, then you can remove me. There we go. And then once we're in the main session, just remove me from it. It's taking a little while, but that's okay. So we are done with this part. We are done with this one. Yes, Melanie, I think we're here together, all right? So select that option, then remove me after you've closed the breakout group.
Close the breakout group. Close the breakout group. Close the breakout group. Close the.
There we go. If you have your microphone opened on both sides, then it will create that feedback loop. You have me currently as a moderator. Change my role to something like a presenter or participant, then select me again, then remove me. Yes? Then select that same option. Perfect. All right, so all that activity has gone well. That's fully complete. Thank you. So now just one last thing. I will close this one. And we will go back here. Let me go back to the poll. I don't need this one for now. All right, I'm going to make one last thing active. Close this, make that one active. So within the same link I shared with you earlier, there should now be a new activity asking you how you found the session. All right, so let me just close this one. Make this one back to, and then let me just make that active, just a moment. All you have to do is just like we did for the activities or features in Collaborate, just simply select on one of the smiley faces, whichever one that is relevant for how you feel this session was. Just give that a minute or two, and hopefully by then we will all have taken part. Show the responses here for a second. We have 2 people, 1 more left. All right, I'll leave that active in case any one of you has lost the link. So I'll just share it again. And that was paulev.com/technologist. So the last person, please do visit the link and select the image that is relevant to you based on how you feel, how this session has gone, and that will be very helpful. I will leave the link active for now, so if you'd prefer to do that after the session, that's absolutely fine. In the meantime, we need to go through this activity, and then of course there will be question and answers in case there are any questions to be asked. This one is our CPD training feedback form, and it's one that, if you don't mind, please do spend the next 5, maybe 6 minutes. It's a very short form, as you see here. You simply need to select your role at UWL. If it's other, then please do specify. select the school that you're associated with. Again, if it's other, please do specify. And then select the option here for Blackboard Collaborate training, which is this session. Provide the date, which today is the 26th of August. And then select these statements here based on this scale, the Richter scale, whether you agree, strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree as far as this session is concerned. And then if there are any further comments, please do provide them at the bottom based on the delivery or the content or engagement or anything else that you may see to be relevant. And like I said earlier, please be as critical as you can, because any feedback you provide will obviously help me and help others to make sure that all of these events in future engage more and are better for yourselves. Just to give you a bit of a clarity, based on the feedback I received following the first session we had, which is a 3-hour session looking at the different things that we have, the different UWL learning technologies, people requested to have a bit of a short break and also to have an activity. So that feedback is what I've implemented today to have the practice activity, which we've gone through, and it has gone nicely. That's perfect. And because this was a short 2-hour session and we won't even finish it soon, we'll finish at least 10 minutes early, I didn't see the need to have a break now. But for all future sessions, which may be 3 hours or more, there will be at least a 10-minute break between the session, which would be very good for the users. So any of such feedback you can provide, that would be very helpful. So once you've completed this training, please do come back in the chat and just type done. That would be perfect. And at this time, of course, in case there are any questions, okay, the last one there is done. Perfect. Thank you all. I will proceed to lock this and close that. Dan Abdul Hakim, thank you. Melanie and Joanne. In case you do have any questions, this would be the time. Please do ask me if there's anything I should go over. One thing that I left for the very end, which we'll look at right now, is just how to access the recordings once they're created, and also accessing the polls and or participant reports. So I left those at the very end because they're obviously, they would take place at the end of the session anyway. So we'll look at them in a moment. Melanie and Joanne, in case there are any questions or if you're experiencing any hardships as far as the form is concerned, please do let me know. I have your microphone set as active, so if you prefer to turn on your mic and speak instead of typing a question, that's absolutely fine, please do. Thanks, Joanne. Melanie? When you set up a repeat session, could you edit each session separately later? Good question. Unfortunately, no, because the repeat session, unlike what you would normally see, say, when you're creating a repeat calendar of events within your calendar, like Outlook or Google or something, over there, you're able to customize each individual session later once they're all available. Unfortunately, it's not the same when you're doing it within Collaborate. The moment you have the sessions created, they will all have the same information. So for example, the session name, you will not be able to customize that. They'll all have the same thing. However, you are able to change the addition or the following tag of the session name. I'll show you an example of that in a moment. Though the actual question name itself, that will be the same. It will also apply to the dates and the session settings on everything from the session itself and the details, as well as the description. So unfortunately, you are unable to customize these once a session is created as an ongoing one or as a recurring one. I hope that answered your question, but like I said, I'll show you that in practice in a moment of what it is that you can change. All right, you're welcome. I can see Melon is done. Perfect. One last thing, there is this HR form, which is for all of the different activities related to CPD that you have completed. It's one that needs to be completed once every semester, but you are able to save it to finish later. And what this will do is every time you add activities, because as you can see here, there are several of these that you can do within the academic year. You would simply provide the name and the dates and so on and so forth. There is a guidance attached somewhere, maybe down here or somewhere else, but it's also available here where you can read this to see what it is they mean or how you can complete each one of these individual columns for the events. Now, including this one, you would simply add, say, Blackboard Collaborate training, specify the date as today, give the end date if it's something that happened for more dates than one. In this case, because it only happened today, it's just have one. The total number of hours, the 2 for the session, and then the rest, whether it was a developmental one to teach, or something essential, I think, in your case, because it's something you use for teaching anyway, so you're dedicating time for it. But these explanations as what category it is, this is available. You can see it's now stopping to respond, but that's okay. So that session guidance there should show you that. I'll just put it here, ACPD HR record. You don't need to complete this one now. That's just for your reference. Keep that aside and you can do that later. I will finish off the last of the bits I left at the end. And of course, if there'll be any questions thereafter, we'll go through them. So now let's assume the session was done and we need to now find what is called a participants report. The participants report would show the list of all the people who joined within the session and however many times they joined. To do that, you'll go back to the original link where you created the activity or the session. So that's in here. You will then go to this option here. Where is it? This one, and select previous sessions. This will show you any of the sessions that took place before. So like this one was the one that took place on the 17th. Oh no, that's 17th of March. All right, so not that one. Let me specify the dates. Sessions and range. Make this from last week to today. So this one, Introduction to UWL Learning Technologies. You would open that and then you would select View Reports. This will now show you however many reports that were generated. In this case, it's 1. It will show when the session started. This was at 9:50 and it ended at around 1:10. There were 9 participants in the session and it took about 3 hours and 19 minutes. There were no polls that took place in this session, but the one we did today had the polls. So generally you would normally see here a little drop down, and I will show you an example of that once I find it. When you click on View the Attendance Report, then you will see the names of everyone who joined in the session. It will show you, in this case here, I joined from the integration. So that's the example I showed you earlier, where while in Blackboard, select the session and then join session. That's the integration. It will show you the time they first joined, when they left, and this number of joins is however many times the person joined. Sometimes you may have experienced a problem, you joined and left, came back and left. However many of those times will be recorded just like that. It will also show you the total number of times or the amount of time that they spent within the session itself. And of course, you're able to see the type of role they had. And in this case, the attendance, where I joined as integration, the rest of you joined via the guest link. You are able to download this as a printable document, which would be normally a PDF, or you can export this within a CSV file and have it within Excel. So that's how you can access a participants report for any of the sessions that you have, which has already taken place. Now, if I go back here and simply say all previous sessions, and then let me choose the thematic. You can search them by name. So you see these thematic webinars are the ones we delivered last year, early last year, when we had some activities we wanted to discuss about. So if I start by, say, viewing this one, for example, view reports, as you can see, this one had some polls active. And the session happened across different days, and you can see the times it started and everything else. So if you view a poll like that, it will download the report, and you can view that on your machine. So I'll open that so we can see what it looks like. It will often be an Excel file showing the questions, the answers, and the responses that each person has given. There we go. Just highlight these to make them bigger. So you would see here that the people are shown the username of whoever it is that attended, the type of way they attended, whether it was via an integration or as a guest via a guest link, the question that was asked, and the responses by each person, and the time for when they gave that response. So the same would apply for this session today. Once we're done here, I would be able to view that report and see what everyone said about this particular session. Then, so that's how you access the reports, to see the participants and the responses from a poll that you have created. To view the recording itself, you go to this option and select recordings. Now here, you will see any of the recordings that were created or were available over the last 30 days. In this case, these do fall in the last 30 days because this first one was on the 17th of August, and these two are the ones we did today. But like we said earlier, when we did the breakout groups, it stopped the recording, so we started it again, and then we did something else later. And this recording that's taking place now will be recording 3. Currently, these recordings here are available by 2 separate groups of people. The first 2 are available to course members only. What that means is whoever who wants to access these videos would have to come into Blackboard, view the module, access the webinar, go to this link, select this option, and view it. Otherwise, they will not be able to do so. If I copied the link here and I shared it with you, you would not be able to access. In fact, let's try that. I'll put the link here now. So you could try just clicking on the link. It should open up in a new tab, and you will see that it should tell you that you would need to ask your instructor to allow public access, something like that. If any of you have tried it, please do let me know by just typing you've tried or any other comments that you may want to share. Now, if I wanted to make it available for you to access, what I would need to do is open this link or this option, go to recording settings. Perfect. Now, from members only, I'll make it public. And then I will save. Now try it again, or just refresh the page you're on. By doing that, it will open the recording and it will be available for you to view. So any one of these that under access says public, it's a recording whose link can be shared by anyone with anyone across, across the globe. They wouldn't have to log into Blackboard. They will all be able to access it without any problems. The captions here, like we said earlier, these are when you have someone created or set as a captioner, and they are able to type in the captions physically. Okay, done. So Abdel Hakim, if you now try again with the same link, just refresh or visit it again, you should be able to see the recording accessible. All right, so like I said, the captions, if someone physically typed them in, then here it would show available or captions available. But in this case, we didn't have any, so it simply says no captions. You have options to download or watch now any one of these 2 recordings. Again, like I said, you can copy the link. If it is public like that, then it's accessible by anyone. Now, the one information that you can change for those that are thematic webinars, so if I search for them again, by the way, if you're unable to see, done, perfect, thank you. If you come here and you're unable to see more recordings, let's say you expected recordings that were made in July or early January or something like that. Thank you, Joanne. To do that, you would have to select filter by and then view this option, recordings in range. Provide a start date. So if I give something here like last year or March 1st, you will see hundreds of recordings. So these are the ones we ran from the beginning. like, and then for, if I searched again the thematic ones, all right? So here, this is where you will see the difference of what you can change, because these ones here were created as, what's this called? As the recurring sessions. We had them as a group, so they're available for within every single week. The one information you can change is of the recording itself, and that's the recording name. In this example here, you can see this said recording 1, that's 3, that's 5. So this one here was recording 4, that was recording 2. If I wanted to change this one, I would open it, go back to the recording settings, and I can make the change here. And say, I could say something like, discussing assessments in Blackboard, for example. If I save that, that will change. That's the only one thing you can change as far as the recurring sessions are concerned. Everything else would remain the same no matter what the case. So that was everything. I hope the session was useful, and I hope you are all able to complete this first activity here. I think I remember you all said you're done. That's perfect. In case there are any other questions, we have just 1 minute left. Please do let me know. Otherwise, I will be sending you a link with the activity, the PowerPoint with the activities, if you want to try that again on your own time. I will also send the links to the recordings once all 3 are available. I will also send the following activities we have, which are looking at different things. So if I open this again, at the same links where you registered for this event, there are others taking place coming the following weeks. One that we had to cancel, this one, the first one that was supposed to take place yesterday, it had fewer registration numbers. It talks about creating accessibility within Microsoft Office and within the web for files that are accessible online. So if you're interested, please do join in. The next one available is on the 28th. Then this is the one we have now, so you don't have to join again. Any one of you who may not have joined this one from last week, the following one is the 7th. And then lastly is the interpreting 1018 similarity reports, the first of which is on the 2nd of December. So I'll share those links. If you're interested, please do register, and I will see you then. In case there are any questions, please do ask me. Otherwise, thanks for attending, and I'll see you soon. You're welcome. I'm assuming by many thanks. See you soon. Thank you. All right. I'm assuming there are no questions, which is great. So I'll stop the recording now.